Hi everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Patty. In today's video, we are going to be busy. We have some homemaking tasks to get done. We're going to bake some Irish soda bread with a delicious orange and honey infused cream cheese spread. We're going to get to play with flowers and thrifted vases, and finally enjoy some afternoon tea together. So if all that sounds good, let's get started. I am trying to do a better job of staying on top of weekly tasks. And this morning I need to wash our silk pillowcases. These pillowcases were a Christmas purchase and I absolutely love them, but they do need to be washed separately. And I am using 100% mulberry silk pillowcases rather than cotton. And it is supposed to improve, your skin and hair because your natural oils don't get absorbed like they do with cotton. So far I am really enjoying these. I will link them below. We're not sponsored or anything, but these are just the ones that I use. So to launder them, I zip them so that they don't get tossed around or caught on things. And I place them in a delicate wash garment bag. These you can pick up anywhere. I think this one might be from Amazon, and I have a couple of them. It's what I use to wash some of my more delicate clothing. And then I just toss them in on a delicate cycle with a little bit of woolite, and they are good to go. I really cannot recommend silk pillowcases enough. It is definitely an investment, but it is something that I've really enjoyed and seen a noticeable improvement in my hair and skin. And like I said, these just go in a delicate cycle in cold water, and then you definitely do not want to put these in the dryer, although they do say you can put them in no heat. I just hang them up to dry. And they look super wrinkly here, but I promise you when they were totally dry and I put them on the pillow, they were as smooth as silk. This next project is something I have been putting off for nearly a year and for absolutely no reason. In my last video, I shared with you how I transformed this vintage secretary and bookshelf into a bar that I use to display my glassware and barware. And one thing that has always bothered me about this is the hardware. I did not like the dingy color of the handles, and about a year ago, I purchased Rub and Buff to take care of that. Well, here I am a year later, and I'm just getting to it. If you're not familiar with Rub and Buff, it is a metallic finish. It's a paste and that has pigment in it. And the idea is that you would rub the paste on and buff it to create the finish that you like. So I purchased two different colors. I purchased European gold and antique gold. And I was not able to rub this on with a rag in the intended way. So I ended up painting it on and then buffing it with the rag. I did try both colors and I decided that I liked the antique gold a little bit better. The European gold was a little bit too bronzy and the antique gold was brighter, and I thought it made for a nicer contrast. So you don't have to be too careful with this because kind of like when you're using stain, you will use a rag to kind of get into all the crevices and so forth. So that is what I'm doing here. And I was very pleased with how this turned out. This is one of those projects that I put off for over a year, and all told, it probably took me less than a half hour to do. And you can see here that I am just buffing out that metallic finish with a rag so it gets in all of the crevices. You can actually apply this product with a rag. It's actually how it's recommended, but I struggled with the hardware. It was easier for me to paint it on and then buff it off. And I was very pleased with the end result. I wish that I had done this project sooner, but better late than never. And that's another thing off of my to-do list. St. Patrick's Day is not too far off, so let's head to the kitchen to make some Irish soda bread. Hi everyone, we're going to do some baking today. We are going to make Irish soda bread. So Irish soda bread is a non-yeast bread. It is considered a quick bread. It is unleavened and it has very simple ingredients. It uses buttermilk. It's very much like making a scone. And it is so good served with tea, and it is not very sweet. So today I'm going to make it with a topping or a spread to go with it. And this spread is one my father would make when we were kids. We loved Irish soda bread and would typically have it on St. Patrick's Day. And my father would make a sweet cream cheese spread with a little bit of orange infused. So some orange zest and something about that citrus with the dense unleavened soda bread was just spectacular. So I am doing a different recipe today than typical because I'm going to make it in a cast iron skillet, which is a little bit different than I would typically do. But this recipe can certainly be done without a cast iron skillet, just in a baking pan. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven on to 375 degrees with my cast iron skillet in there. And so let's get going on our Irish soda bread. There are not many ingredients to this bread, which is one of the reasons that it was popular in the 1800s when this was gained popularity in Ireland. It does not require a lot. It starts with 4 cups of flour and about a 1/4 cup of white sugar, granulated sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda. And that is just whisked together as I'm doing here in the bowl. Now to this, you're going to add 6 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter. And this I had already cut up in cubes and put in the refrigerator. And you're going to add that and you're going to mix it with your hands, or maybe you have a pastry cutter. You're going to mix it in until it forms crumbles. And this, the way that I like to do it is I like to run it between my hands, rubbing my hands together to form the crumbs. If I'm saying that correctly, it's easier to see than I can explain. But that is a method that works for me. It's what I use when I make scones, and it seems to work a little bit better. So you're going to continue to do this until you form crumbs. Now a little bit about this bread. This actually works best in an iron. Originally it was made in iron pots or griddles. So using my cast iron skillet should be a great way to make this. I hadn't even thought of it until I saw this recipe. I have always done it on a baking sheet. And the reaction between the sour milk, or in this case buttermilk, and the baking soda creates a reaction that contributes to sort of that unique texture that you'll see in the soda bread. Once your crumbs have formed, you can go ahead and stir in a cup of raisins or dried cranberries or whatever dried fruit you want. Or if you don't want any dried fruit, that's totally fine. I happen to love all dried fruit, so this was a no-brainer for me. In fact, I probably would have added more than a cup, but that is what the recipe called for. So next time I will be loading these up. Now I am forming a well in the dry ingredients, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare the wet ingredients. For this, I have 1 3/4 cup cold buttermilk, and to that I am adding 1 cold large egg, and I am just whisking them together, and then I will pour them into the well in the center of the dry ingredients. And then with a wooden spoon, I just combine the ingredients. You want to just stir it until the dough sort of barely comes together. You definitely do not want to overmix this batter. You are then going to want to transfer the dough to a floured surface, and with floured hands, shape that dough just until it forms a rounded loaf. It's going to look shaggy, it's going to look rustic, but that is actually the look you are going for. Again, do not overmix the bread or it will be tough. And then with a razor blade or sharp knife, you're going to want to cut a pretty deep X into the top. And then into the cast iron skillet it goes, and into my oven. This is going to bake at that 375 temperature for 50 to 55 minutes. So we have plenty of time now to make our cream cheese spread. And I am adding 1 8-ounce package of softened cream cheese into a bowl. Now, you could cut this in half. This made a lot. I happen to like the spread, so I was happy to have a lot, but certainly for 1 loaf, half of this would be plenty. I'm also zesting 1 orange. I'm going to need about 2 teaspoons or so of orange zest, but in my case, you really can't overdo it. So I just did the zest of 1 orange. To the softened 8 ounces of cream cheese, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of honey. And you can adjust this to your taste. 3, in my opinion, was just about perfect. Then you'll want to gather up the orange zest. The recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. I'm not sure if I got 2 teaspoons out of it, but it tasted delicious. if you want, this is totally optional, but I really like a pretty good, strong orange taste. So to this, I added about 1/4 teaspoon of orange extract. You could probably do a little bit of orange juice, a splash of it if you wanted, but I really wanted a little bit more of the orange flavor. So a few drops, just about 1/4 teaspoon, maybe if that, of orange zest was just about all I needed to bring out the orange flavor. And now I'm just going to cover this in plastic wrap and pop it in the refrigerator until the bread is ready. The bread still has plenty of time to cook, so let's do some flour arranging. So while we're waiting on the soda bread, I thought it would be fun to play with some flowers. I picked up a couple of vases recently out thrifting, and vases are something that I really enjoy thrifting. They're usually very inexpensive, and they're a good thing to have on hand because you just never know when somebody will come home with a bouquet of flowers, or you want some for yourself. Or what I like to think about too is giving flowers away and bringing somebody some flowers that are in a pretty vessel that you are perfectly fine with them keeping. It's part of the gift. So I have a whole cupboard full of various vases, and I do use them all from time to time. And it's a really fun, inexpensive way to change out your decor a little bit. So I got these two at a charity thrift store, and I'm going to start with this one because it's a little bit different than anything I have picked up in the past. This is this really sweet floral vase, and I should add, it was the day before Valentine's Day when I picked these up, so I think I had pink and flowers on the brain, and my daughter had bought me a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and I thought they would be so cute in this. So this is a Laura Ashley floral vase, and it very much reminds me of the 80s when I was a teenager, high school, college student, and Laura Ashley dresses and clothing were really, really in. And it just reminds me so much of that. In addition, I have, for the first time in my adult life, I have a spare room. And with 4 boys, I really wanted to make the spare room sort of very feminine. I do have a daughter, but I wanted to make it super feminine. And so I think I will keep this in that room. I did a video about how I freshened up that room, which I will link above. But anyway, I thought this was so pretty in there. It is pink and yellow and green. And this would also be the perfect gift. If you want to cheer somebody up, go to the grocery store, buy some inexpensive flowers, and put them in this really sweet Laura Ashley vase and go ahead and deliver them. So I love these. This was $2, and I'm excited to use that. But I think today I'm going to use this really lovely Indiana Glass Company fluted vase. And this is like an Art Deco design. I'm sure extremely hard to see on camera, but you've probably seen these in thrift stores or antique shops. They're just a really classic shape, almost like a pedestal base. And I love the detailing of the fluted edges. I think that really complements flowers. And this is a nice, simple, clear design. So it doesn't make it for a busy tabletop. It's very simple, and it really accentuates the flowers that are in it rather than the vase. So this was $1. It was really, really dirty when I got it. And I just hit it with some Dawn Power Wash and really gave it a good cleaning, and it's just lovely. So I think I'm going to use this, and I'm going to go ahead and make a pretty bouquet of flowers for my table. I had mentioned before that my daughter had given me a beautiful bouquet of flowers for Valentine's Day, and I'm actually splitting up the flowers she gave me into this vase and that Laura Ashley vase. And what I'm doing now is just making sort of my own flower food. I used very little water with this, but typically I use, for about a quart of warm water, I would add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. The vinegar helps with bacteria growth, eliminating it or mitigating it anyway. And the sugar, of course, is food for the flowers. So in this case, I probably cut that in half. I think I used about a pint of water and a tablespoon or so of sugar and a tablespoon or so of white vinegar. And be sure to use warm water. The sugar will dissolve obviously easier in it. And as we've mentioned in other videos, you're going to want to remove most of the leaves. You don't want leaves submerged in water. And then I cut the stems at a heavy angle so that they can absorb as much of the food and water as possible. I decided to stick with the flowers in here that I love the most. I love those pink flowers and the green stems as well. I am by no means a florist or even well versed in flower arranging, but I certainly do enjoy it. I find it fun and relaxing, and I was very happy with the colors and the way that this little bouquet turned out. You kind of can't go wrong with such a pretty vessel. It doesn't take many flowers to make this look full and beautiful, and I love a clear vessel. It just doesn't overpower the flowers, and it gives such a simple elegance to any tabletop. In my oven, that took about 50 minutes on the dot, and it looks perfect. To test that it's done, you just want to give it a tap, and you'll hear the hollow sound, and that's how you know it's ready. I can't wait to dig into this. Make sure the bread has rested for a sufficient amount of time. This sat for probably close to an hour before I cut into it. And you definitely want a serrated knife. And yes, it's going to look just rustic like this. That is how it should look. So I'm so excited to dig into this Irish soda bread, and we have our beautiful flowers that we put here, and I brewed myself some English breakfast tea, and these are a set of napkins that I actually thrifted. They were new in the package, but they're Portmeirion napkins in this pretty rose pattern. So I have a nice little spread set up for me to enjoy, and let's just take a bite of this. That is so good. I need a sip of tea. The Irish soda bread is perfect. Do not overmix it. This is the perfect consistency. It's really easy to make tough if you overwork it. It will look shaggy. It will not be pretty, but I think the more rustic it looks, honestly, the better it tastes. But the key here for me is the orange cream cheese. It is delicious. The honey in the background is perfect, and the orange zest and just a little bit of extract, because I love the flavor of orange. Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, the sun is shining. It is beautiful out, and I'm going to head out for a walk. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you will never miss an upload. All right, everyone, I'm going to say goodbye, and we will see you in the next video.